Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox Advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining us this week in our edition of the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor. And if you're a business owner, manager, or you're considering starting your own business, then you're in the right place, because the Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County comes to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and to hear from some of our own local business leaders on how they have found success right here in Montgomery County. Today we have a great lineup for you. Our special studio guest is Skip Straus. Skip is an MA, a BCC, an EMT-P, and a founder, CEO, and senior chaplain of Emergency Ministries. And he gets that all on one line, right, Skip?
You like all that alphabet soup, huh?
Emergency Ministries provides chaplaincy services to EMS, fire, paramedic, and police agencies on scene and behind scene, with an emphasis on critical incident stress mitigation. Also joining us today will be Trish Cooper, owner of Patricia Cooper Insurance Agency and a member of the Weekly Business Hour of Roundtable Experts. Trish will share her best client business insurance war stories. And to finish out today's show, I will share my weekly Silver Fox Advisor business tip. Before we get started in the show, I want to remind you, if you have a question or a thought about what we're talking about, always feel free to call in. Our call-in number is 936-647-3776. Or if you're embarrassed to get on the phone like some folks, you can email us at rick@irlonestar.com. If you're ready to do business this week, then let's get started with today's show. First, let's check in with Dick here at Lone Star and see what is on tap with Lone Star for the coming week. Dick, what's going on?
I want to let people know there's a fun event happening for the first time ever this weekend. We'll be here in downtown Conroe on Saturday, November 7th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is the first annual Shakespeare Festival in downtown Conroe. Literally all over downtown, there are going to be a lot of different things going on that's Shakespearean themed. There's going to be 6 stages of entertainment. On the main stage, the Comedy of Errors will be playing, and then there's going to be street performers, duets, poetry slams, sonnet slams, ensembles, street vendors, and monologues all over the place. And Rick, the Reluctant Cowboy of Afternoons with Lone Star, will be William himself, William Shakespeare. So make sure to say hi to him and come on downtown Conroe. It's free for everybody, and it's just a lot of fun.
Sounds like a great family event. I'm a little concerned about the slams, though. Are those body slams like in that Ultimate Wrestling?
No, I think it's just regular poetry slams where they get to make fun of each other using poetry.
Well, this sounds like a great educational event, and I would encourage you, especially if you have children, bring them down, get a little exposure to William Shakespeare. Great time to do it. Great things always going on in downtown Conroe. And now let's go to our news segment. News you can use. Skip, let me formally welcome you to the show. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Especially with that alphabet name. Now, can we drop that now?
Yeah. Forget the alphabet soup.
Well, I would like to pass on some local and business news to our audience, as I do every week, and I would like to ask you to help me with any comments you might have on what's going on in some of these business issues. Does that work for you?
You betcha.
Okay. Well, first out of the barrel this morning, something it's kind of neat to me because I love history. I personally think history is an important thing for everybody to pay some attention to see where we came from. And in some cases, history can predict the future or help you to do it. But right here in downtown Conroe, we have a 103-year-old barbershop making history. In fact, just recently, the county unveiled its first ever historical marker at the site of the 103-year-old barbershop. It's very interesting. Big event that day. County Judge Craig Doyle, Conroe Mayor Webb Melder, State Representative Will Metcalf, and the County Historical Commission Chairman Larry Forrester all came out with a great group of people to dedicate the location and to put a plaque up. And it was interesting because they got Old Republic Title, donated their time to kind of research some of the history going way back. And everybody who's listening say, well, wait a minute, where is this? Where is this? Well, this is what is known as Shepherd's Barbershop today. There's a history. A lot of us, including myself, we get our hair cut there. And when they checked on this, they found that over 5 generations of local Conroe men, their sons, grandsons, have been getting haircuts and shaves there since 1912.
Wow.
Isn't that phenomenal?
That's great.
I mean, to go in of course, the same barbers haven't been there for sure, right?
Right.
But I'll tell you, it's interesting.
If they are, we don't want to trust them with the razor.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Bobby Shepard, who owns the shop, Bobby's been there a long time. He leased the location for 25 years from the West family, who had owned it at that point, and then he bought the building in the year 2000. So it's kind of a neat thing. We've got a historical marker now in downtown Conroe, a 103-year-old barbershop, which according to some historical experts may be the oldest continuously operating barbershop in the state of Texas.
And don't you have those good memories as a child sitting in the barber shop with Dad and waiting for your turn in the big chair?
Well, and I've got a memory right now that you talk about memories. I take one of my grandsons to get a haircut, and that's a great memory maker for me. Because I took him for his first one. That was a little challenging, but we've gotten really good at it now. And occasionally his mother still will let me take him. So you're right. Going to the barbershop with your dad, your granddad, the camaraderie of the barbershop, the conversation, a lot of it what I call loose conversation.
Yes, indeed.
But a lot of things done there. And I'd encourage everybody in the area, if you get a chance, you walk around downtown Conroe, always an adventure. Take a note and see Shepard's Barbershop, one of our great historical locations in Montgomery County. Well, let's switch gears. The next item I have is perhaps more of an interest to today's business, and that is the changes that are going on right now on I-45, obviously the most important thoroughfare, if you will, through Montgomery County. I-45 really north-south, Houston to Dallas. Seems like it's always under construction somewhere.
Always.
But we know it's very congested in the Woodlands, and there is something being done right as we sit here today to try to alleviate some of that construction. They're putting in some managed lanes. What this boils down is they're going to put some carpool lanes. That's in progress right now, expected to be finished in April of 2016. And these managed lanes will run from 1960 up to Loop 336 South. And at 1960, those who go into Houston on a regular basis know there are already managed lanes in place there, so that if you have the ability to carpool, and I can't really tell you what the current rules are because they seem to change, well, they have to have one passenger, sometimes you don't, whatever, but they hope this will relieve some of the congestion, particularly the morning traffic and the traffic home in the evening. And again, that project is taking place right now, projected completion time April 2016. There's also another project that kind of caught me by surprise. I remember when Conroe had Park and Ride, it had been 5-10 years ago, and the project for various reasons apparently didn't work and they shut it down. Actually had a pickup drop-off point over on Loop 336. They're in the process of trying to do something again. Their design plans in motion, and they're hoping to do some bidding in March of 2016 to redesign and offer another Park and Ride facility. The buses that serve that facility will go into downtown Houston, Midtown, as well as the Texas Medical Center. So they cover a pretty wide range. And there's some projections that, it'll be slow to get running, but after a while, those who like the bus, and I know a number of my friends who work in downtown from up in the northern area here that work out of the Woodlands, they take the bus every day. They enjoy it. They have a regular work schedule, so it works for them. They enjoy the extra time to take a snooze or do some work, read a paper. They've gotten used to it, and it's a plus for them. So it's on its way back.
That's good. And couldn't come in at a better time with all the construction with the new Grand Parkway and all that right there at the Hardy Toll Road. Gee, that's a blast every morning.
I'll tell you, that's and it's funny, if you go east or west, trying some of the other streets that go on a north-south basis, like Gosling, Kirkendall, they're all in a pinch. In fact, I was over Kirkendall last night, that section there, and they finally have kind of paved it over. And then this morning I was on 2920 where it goes underneath the Parkway, and the traffic's been rerouted. Looks like it'll be a little easier, maybe relieve some of that construction, but that's been an interesting project. It'll be, I think, really interesting when they open it up and just see what really happens.
Yeah.
I've been told that people are going to jump on it and ride all the way around to 290 and whatnot. Let's just see, but they're projecting it might be jam-packed. So all of a sudden they open it up and it's already full and needs to be expanded.
Exactly.
Well, that may happen.
Get ready for a fourth loop, right?
Yeah, there you go. Either that or a super wide loop. The final news item I have today is I want to take my hat off and congratulate an old friend, Mike Nesbitt. Mike runs MW Cleaners. MW Cleaners is the cleaning business, been here a long time. Mike's in a generational business, runs a great operation here in Houston and Austin, and they do a lot of work in our community, which I think is important for every business. Consider how they can work in the community. And one of the things that Mike's doing right now is they're holding their first annual coat and blanket drive. I know a lot of friends up east in northern climates that are in the dry cleaning business. They do these because there's an obvious need for overcoats for kids, families. And I have one friend that his company up in Boston, they have actually over a 20-year period collected tens of thousands of coats. Down here, sometimes we just don't think about it. It doesn't get very cold, but it does. It does for a few months, and it's a lot of folks are out there, unfortunately, can't afford a coat. So Mike's business has launched its first annual MW Cares and Coat and Blanket Drive, and they're in the process of collecting those coats. And it's quoting Mike from the article that I picked up that was published by our good friend Donna Wick. We want to extend warmth and a helping hand to those in need, Mike said. These are such simple things that most of us don't even notice. Last year's coat or extra blanket taking up room in the closet, but these can make a difference in someone's life. We want to use our resources to make that happen. So they're picking the items up right now, collecting them, and then they'll clean them, and they're delivering them to the Salvation Army to distribute them. So the reason I brought this item up, one, is to congratulate Mike and his organization on their continued work in the community. And then secondly, also to encourage any business that's listening, make the community part of your business. Look for these kinds of opportunities where you can be associated with the good things going on in the community. Because, I mean, Skip, people look at your business, they see you doing a good thing, they say, "Hey, it must be a good business." I mean, isn't that fair?
That's right. And the old saying, "You got to give to get." And I think if more of our business people out there got involved in the community, like Mike is doing, like other places of business here in Montgomery County and Harris County that we deal with are doing, it would make the world a better place. Absolutely.
Well, let's kind of carry off of that and talk about your business, Emergency Chaplain. I mean, you're a nonprofit. You're trying to connect with businesses, I guess, to support what you're doing.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of background about you, Skip, and what you did in your career and what brought you to Emergency Chaplain.
Okay, well, I started out in EMS, Emergency Medical Services. I actually ran my first ambulance call when I was still a senior in high school. So I had a little bit different view of life by the time I graduated because I had already seen dead people. I'd already delivered babies, and so it just kind of stuck with me. I was the typical kid standing on the street corner watching the big red truck go by, and knew that's what I wanted to do. And I guess that's something that God instilled in me early on. And so we've been in the business a long time, and about 17 years ago, I felt called into ministry, and in that calling, I felt, okay, I'm going to be standing in a pulpit every Sunday. And it was about a year after that calling that God showed me a chaplaincy website for a police department chaplain. And I said, oh, well, there it is. I'd been in fire and EMS for so long that he was using that to call me in that direction, I believe.
Well, you know, that's interesting that's how you felt a call, and I think people need to hear that. We're at a break point right now, Skip, and I want you to hold that thought. And when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to visit with Skip a little bit more about how he got started and introduce you more to Emergency Ministries. Be right back with you.
Have a legal question? Are you a resident of Montgomery County? Call 281-645-6344 to talk to a volunteer attorney from the Woodlands Bar Association. We answer the phones on the first Monday of every month at 281-645-6344 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to provide general legal information and information about legal resources to Montgomery County residents.
Hi folks, it's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I want to invite you to join me every Saturday morning right here on Lone Star Internet Radio from 8 to 9 for Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Bill Dance is a frequent guest. Larry Weisser and Mr. Whitetail is on the show every week. We talk a lot of hunting and fishing and generally have a good time. So remember, every Saturday morning, 8 to 9, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Hi, Hi, this is BJ Orner from Montgomery County Performing Arts Society. I'm here to remind you to get your tickets now for all the upcoming events that McPass has to offer. All shows will be held at the beautiful Crichton Theater in downtown Conroe. Call 936-441-7469 for your tickets today, or go to our website, www.mcpass.org, for more information. Hope to see you at the show.
SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County is a 501c3 all-volunteer-based rescue and adoption organization with a no-kill policy for healthy and adoptable animals. Our goals are fourfold: to rescue and rehabilitate homeless animals, to provide a safe haven for the animals until a suitable adoption or foster care home is found or until they are reunited with their owner, to educate the public about the great need to reduce pet population, which includes the importance of having their pets spayed and neutered, and to further the cause for humane and responsible pet ownership, and to provide a low-cost spay-neuter clinic for people who are unable to afford to spay or neuter their pets otherwise. SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County encourages you to think adoption first. You can contact us at www.spcaofmc.com.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and host today. And I am pleased to say that we have Skip Straus as our guest. He's the founder, CEO, and senior chaplain of Emergency Ministries. And Skip, when we took our break, you were just kind of getting us into how you were drawn and started in the emergency ministries. Please continue with that, if you would.
Yeah, so my vision at the time that God had given me was to provide professional chaplaincy to the smaller fire departments. Larger cities typically have their own chaplaincy. And I really didn't know what that was going to look like. I enrolled in seminary and ended up graduating and specialized in pastoral counseling. But as I looked, there was more agencies out there that were doing training for public safety chaplaincy, and so I grabbed everything I could. And today, the two full-time chaplains that we have both have master's degrees. Next week, I actually walk the stage in Florida to receive my board certification as a board-certified chaplain. And so we're trying to take chaplaincy to the next level. And I think one of the things that makes us very unique is that we require all our chaplains to have worn the badge. It's what makes us different. So when a first responder is talking to one of our chaplains, they're talking to a fellow first responder who's been there and done that.
Now, let's define, if we will, and this may sound a little bit shallow, but first responders. Who are first responders?
Well, that's a great question. Fire, police, EMS is what you typically think of, and EMS is emergency medical services. A lot of places like Houston, the fire department runs the EMS. Not so everywhere in the U.S. That's the assumption, I think, on the general public part. For instance, here in Montgomery County, it's run by the hospital district, EMS is. The fire department does first response and with EMTs and sometimes with paramedics as well. That can maybe arrive quicker than the ambulance can, and the ambulance follows up. So police, fire, EMS, and we also include dispatch in that. Our 911 call takers and our dispatchers, a lot of times they seem like the forgotten part of public safety, but not to us.
Well, that's interesting. So it covers a really broad range of people when you stop and look around with the police, the fire department, EMS, and like you say, EMS can work for a variety of the agencies, come from a different direction. And I also like the fact you've picked up the dispatchers.
Yes.
Because what is your main focus? I mean, you're trying to help these people. Tell us about that.
Right. So I want you to picture yourself as a rookie firefighter, and it's your first shift on the job, and the tones go off, and your adrenaline starts pumping, and then the assignment's on a motor vehicle accident, and you arrive on scene, and there's the remains of a 2-year-old in the back seat that did not survive the crash. And not only is it a horrific scene that you're looking at, you have to stick around for about 45 minutes to help cut the remains out. You've got a 2-year-old at home yourself. How's that going to make you feel? There's the adrenaline while you're on scene and going into what we call the robot mode, doing what you've been trained to do. But it's when you get back to the station that you go, I can't believe what I just saw. And how can you not see stuff like that and it not have an effect on you? And multiply that times 20 years in the business or 30 years in the business, where you're seeing stuff like this almost every shift. And you start to take that home, or you start clamming up and not talking about it, which is obviously one of the worst things you can do. And so that's where I see our role. Our primary role is stepping in and keeping these men and women doing what they do best.
So basically, you're available to, if you would, come alongside them and talk with them about what they're experiencing, what they're going through.
Exactly. And sometimes we're called to scenes. Sometimes it's in the office or at the fire station or the police station after an incident, sitting around talking about what they've just seen and doing it in a constructive way. We also do things like marriage counseling and family counseling. A little bit of financial counseling every once in a while. You get these kids that hire on in their mid-20s, and all of a sudden after their rookie year, they're starting to make to them a fairly good salary. And what's the first thing they do? They go out and buy the big black 4x4 pickup truck, and it puts the family in a situation. And so sometimes we help them with that as well.
And people need to understand that you and the folks that work with you, you're trained professionals.
Yes.
I mean, being a chaplain is not something you get through the mail or online. You mentioned that you're going to be walking the stage. Can you give us a little bit of background on what it takes typically to be a chaplain?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, unfortunately, there are chaplains out there that got their chaplaincy certificate online or through the mail, like you said, and we're trying to change that image. Up to now, most chaplains typically are maybe an associate pastor at a local church that just loves the fire department, wants to love on them, and becomes their de facto chaplain. And they're around for the formal events and to bless the meals at the annual banquet and that kind of thing. And we want to take it to the level that we believe the chaplaincy should be at, and that's as a professional working in critical incident stress is our primary focus. All of our chaplains are trained at least to the advanced level of critical incident stress management and those techniques, and we constantly look for educational opportunities to improve.
Well, let me ask you this now. You felt the call. Mm-hmm. You mentioned 17 years ago. Mm-hmm. You went and got the formal training you needed through seminary and whatnot. What are some of what is the toughest challenge you faced in putting this organization together?
Great question. I think initially my vision was that we're going to be serving these small departments that normally wouldn't be able to have a chaplain. And in doing so, I was relying on the churches to help support what we do. Obviously, we're a 501c3, and I thought, if I was a foreign missionary and I went to a village in Africa, I wouldn't expect that village to pay for my trip, right? And so I looked at what we do as a home mission, and so I didn't want to ask the fire departments to pay for my trip, if you will, and so we started seeking donations from churches. Well, businesses got involved and individuals got involved, and that's really what's carried us to where we are today.
So the fundraising's been the main challenge.
Fundraising's always a challenge, especially in the economic climate we've got right now. It's an ever-growing challenge, but we also serve a great God.
Right. There's no doubt about that. Now, in the couple of minutes that we got left, I want to talk about two things if we can. First of all, you've got a program, First Responder Peer Support. Mm-hmm. Can you just take a second and tell us what that's about?
Yeah, love to. About 3 or 4 months ago, the PTSD Foundation of America approached us, called us down to a meeting, and they asked us if we'd be interested in becoming their official first responder partner, meaning we would take their programs, existing good programs, to the first responder community, because they were beginning to see what we've kind of known for a while, that PTSD in first responders might be, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, might be just as prevalent, if not more so, in first responders than it is even in the military. And so we sent 6 of our folks through a 30-hour PTSD care and counseling course through the American Association of Christian Counselors. And they now act as facilitators for 3 groups that we've already started in the area. And I want to mention to any first responder listening, please come attend one of these groups. It's a group of up to 10 people that meet confidentially, where you can talk about what we see out there in the field.
You know, it sounds like a great connection. And the other thing that I really don't want to miss today, which is coming on us, is you have a fundraiser coming up. And I know raising funds, you said, your main challenge. Share with us about that fundraiser if one of the listeners would like to be involved and they know what to do to get involved.
Great. Yeah, this is our annual fundraiser. The gala is called Hope for Heroes. This is our 4th annual. This typically is raised about 1/3 of our operating income for the year, so it's very important to us. This year we've got Don Piper, who wrote the book 90 Minutes in Heaven, which was just made into a movie that was released on 9/11 of this year, coincidentally. He's our keynote speaker. Our master of ceremonies is a guy named Nim Kidd, who happens to be the chief of emergency management for the state of Texas, is coming down from Austin to MC the event for us. So it's going to be a great deal. It's going to be at the Marriott Waterway in the Woodlands on Thursday, November the 12th. Dinner starting at 7 p.m. And there's still time for table sponsorships, or just buy a seat if you'd like.
And if they want to do that, what's the contact information?
So you can go to our website at EMCHAP, that's E as in Edward, M as in Mary, CHAP, CHAP.org, and click on the Gala tab, and it'll take you to a link there if you want to go ahead and purchase tickets or do a sponsorship.
You know, Skip, it's very interesting today that what you've shared with me in one way, and I kind of want to round it up this way, is you have a group of first responders, people who were in the police, fire, or EMS, because you mentioned that's the first requirement. And then these people have gone on and gotten additional education experience and are now chaplains and still serving.
That's correct.
I mean, I can't imagine a higher calling. I really can't.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And thanks to the good Lord for putting a call out to you.
Amen.
17 years ago to put something like this together. If people have an interest in any other way of being involved, is there anything else they could do besides attend the fundraiser?
Absolutely. Go to our website and get educated about what we do. And at some point, too, we're forming a victim chaplain corps, much like what one of the judges here in Montgomery County does. This would be primarily in North Harris County, where we can have them come out and help us serve the victims of these horrific incidents.
Well, you've done a great bit of work, and again, from my personal, from myself, my family, and us here at Lone Star Internet Radio, we thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a commercial break. Hope you'll stay with us, because when we come back, we're going to have the ever popular Trish Cooper talk to us about the good and the bad and ugly of business insurance.
Tune in every Sunday night right here on Lone Star Internet Radio for adventure, romance, thrills, chills, and everything vintage radio drama can bring. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour comes to you every Sunday at 7 p.m. with brand new episodes monthly. Our productions always feature actors, music, and sound effects performed completely live. And now you can enjoy seeing each new episode performed on stage at the Owen Theater in Conroe. Check out www.irlonestar.com for information about upcoming episodes. Relive the glory days of vintage radio drama right here with the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Have a legal question? Are you a resident of Montgomery County? Call 281-645-6344 to talk to a volunteer attorney from the Woodlands Bar Association. We answer the phones on the first Monday of every month at 281-645-6344 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. to provide general legal information and information about legal resources to Montgomery County residents.
Heaven's Army of Resources and Recreation Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization featuring a 10,000 square foot building located at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas. At Heaven's Army, we offer over 26 different services free for all ages, from karate, dance, drug and alcohol classes, anger management, parenting, food and clothing pantries, to just name a few. We are supported solely by volunteers and private donations. Our main mission is to glorify God in all that we do. At Heaven's Army, we strive to be a hand up, not a handout. Come check us out at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas, or call for more information at 281-689-5864. You may also learn more about Heaven's Army by visiting our website at heavensarmyofresources.com.
Hi, this is BJ Orner from Montgomery County Performing Arts Society. I'm here to remind you to get your tickets now for all the upcoming events that McPass has to offer. All shows will be held at the beautiful Crichton Theater in downtown Conroe. Call 936-441-7469 for your tickets today, or go to our website, www.macpass.org, for more information. Hope to see you at the show.
Our community's animal shelters cannot absorb accidental litters of kittens and puppies. Approximately 80% of the animals entering our shelters will not make it out alive. Please help be a part of the solution. Please spay and neuter your pets. Many low-cost options are available. Visit texaslittercontrol.org to learn more. That's texaslittercontrol.org. And remember, real Texans don't litter. Please spay and neuter your pets.
Doing business since 1985, Assistance League of Montgomery County is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization where all proceeds stay in Montgomery County. We are proud to sponsor 10 philanthropic programs that enhance the lives of those in our community. Visit our thrift shop at 126 North San Jacinto Street in downtown Conroe, or call us at 936-760-1151. Don't forget to like us on Facebook.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor, welcoming you back to this week's Weekly Business Hour. And in this segment, as promised, we have the one and only Trish Cooper with Patricia Cooper Insurance. She's a member of our Weekly Business Hour Roundtable of Business Experts and, of course, is our expert in business insurance. Good morning, Trish. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Well, happy Monday to you. After a little bit of rain, we dry for a few days and maybe some more, right?
You know, I can't ever complain about rain anymore.
Well, I agree with you. Drought is not a good alternative. Well, I asked you to join us today and talk a little bit about what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly, to borrow a phrase from our friend Clint Eastwood of business insurance, because I know that once you've been in any business for a while, you always have what I affectionately call war stories, where you've helped people, customers, clients, that just some phenomenal things that people do. And in this case, running a business, things that could be, in effect, fatal or catastrophic for the business. So hopefully you've got a few stories for us. So I'm going to let you take it away and start us off with a good story.
A good story. I guess the good stories are about the customers that when they get their insurance, they've asked a lot of questions, and a lot of people, when you're doing business insurance, don't realize that you need to spend some time with your agent and tell them exactly what you do, what are your operations, so that agent can ensure that every one of your operations is included in the coverage. We have so many times that customers say, I have a general liability insurance policy, and it covers me. and we start looking at the policy when we review things and realize that not everything is on there. A good story, kind of a good and bad, but it's a good story because it didn't affect the customer negatively. Large restaurant owner out here in our area has had insurance with a very good company for a long period of time. I have worked to get his business, and he was very happy with his agent, and everything was fine. He came to me at one point because he was having some communication problems with his agency, and so we brought the policy over to our agency, and he wanted me to review it and look to see if there was something I could do to help him get his premiums down. And when we started looking, realized that he had insurance on this large restaurant, does a couple $1 million worth of business a year, and he had no liquor liability on his policy, and he had been serving a great deal of liquor at his great restaurant for a long period of time, and thank goodness had not had any issues. But having the opportunity to sit down and review his coverages with him, we were able to realize that he was very, very sorely exposed in that area, got him taken care of, and got him a new policy written that included that coverage. And so he was extremely happy that nothing bad had happened at that point. But that's something that a lot of people don't realize. You think you have that liability, but there's a lot of parts to that liability that don't always happen. So another thing that...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, when I hear you talk about this, and you and I have talked about this concept on several occasions, and because of my background in owning multiple businesses and actually practicing law for a while, defending businesses, you've got to be willing, if you own a business, two things I see in this area. One is you've got to be willing to share your story with your providers, with your experts, the people you go to, professionals. Lawyer, you know, we think about the CPA, but the insurance professional as well. I've got to tell you what my business is, what I do, how I do it, and just don't assume that you know about it. Because if I'm a good business person, I know there may be a little something different about my business than, say, the typical restaurant, which, of course, your example, pretty straightforward. Because I've got to depend upon you, and that's the second point, to do your job, to be my expert, to be my professional, so that you can look in all the corners and you can look in all the little places I might not look and find where I need some coverage or I need to do something a little different. And I'll be frank with you, Trish, what I have found a lot of times in trying to just generally direct or advise, mentor my clients, they're afraid to bring up certain things. They figure, well, it'll just raise my premium. You know, I'm just going to not bring it up because I don't want to pay more premium.
You know, the story that I just related was the gentleman that didn't have the liquor liability. And when we were able to sit down and discuss everything that he needed coverage for, we actually found him a policy with another great carrier, including the liquor liability, and I saved him a couple $1,000s a year.
Right.
So it was a conversation he needed to have, and he just wasn't aware of it. You know, every commercial policy that you have, or not every, most every policy that you get is going to have certain things that the companies will exclude. That's the difference between a big difference between a commercial policy and a residential or personal policy is the commercial policies, the business policies, those companies will exclude certain activities or what they call products and completed operations with a company that they don't want to have an exposure to. And a lot of people don't understand that if you say, I have a trucking company and your general liability says you're covering a trucking company, what they don't realize is that that policy could have specific exclusions in it that will exclude most of what you do. There are different parts of liability on a commercial policy or business policy, and one of those parts is called products and completed operations. Another issue that I had with a company was, again, a trucking company that we had a general liability policy. They came to us looking to see if we could help lower their premiums. And when we started looking at their general liability policy, we actually realized that the company had excluded completely their products and completed operations, which is what they do. So they had a general liability policy that covered nothing that they do. And they had no idea because there are different parts, and they hadn't been sitting down with their agent and realized that that was an excluded part of their policy.
And I want our listeners to hear what you just said. I'm going to interrupt you. These folks were paying a premium, listeners, and they had absolutely no coverage. Is that a fair statement?
They didn't have coverage for the things that they did. The liability would cover if someone had a slip or a fall or an accident while in their offices. So it was a premises liability only. It did not cover anything that their operation did as a company.
So their business itself, as far as what they did day in and day out, had no coverage.
Right. Absolutely not.
That is an amazing story and one everybody needs to hear. How about another great story? Do you have another good one?
Another one that's important that we deal with a lot, and these are the three areas kind of that our agency has a little more experience in, is the restaurants and the trucking companies, but we also deal with contractors. Any kind of artisans or any builders, anything like that. Exclusions are a wonderful thing for the companies. There are so many things so many exclusions that are part of those policies that if you're not careful, you can get quotes from 4 different companies, and each one may have a different exclusion on it. One of the common exclusions that we find with our contractors is you're building a brand new house, and the policy, if you don't read it carefully, will exclude new construction, residential homes, so you can do remodeling and you can do that kind of thing, but if you build a new house, you're excluded from it as a builder, and it excludes roofing. So if you have anything to do with roofing on building a house, which to me would be an important part of building a house, it's excluded. And if you don't read, again, you don't take the time to sit down and make sure that you're looking at the different exclusions and things on a specific quote, a specific policy, you can be left hanging in the wind, so to speak, if you have an issue. And I understand completely commercial insurance has gotten so expensive, and there's so much fluctuation in things, and it's really important to take the time to discuss your coverages and see what you can do with your agent. We're blessed in the fact that we have a number of different companies that we can work with, so that if we have a company that wants to exclude certain things, we have options with other companies. If a price gets too high, we have an option to go with other companies to help keep that price down so that those companies are covered. It can be expensive for the coverage, but the minute that you have a loss and you're not covered for it, that expense is nowhere near what you could have, what you would have had if you'd had the right coverage paying those premiums.
Well, and you've said it so many times, indirectly and directly, and you've said it really loud and clear today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do a good and bad and ugly segment, as I like to call them, because the message has come out loud and clear to me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in business and you have insurance, in almost every business, you've got to have insurance, whether the landlord requires it or the bank requires it. And even if they don't require it, look at your own personal liability. Protect yourself and your family. When you go to buy insurance, I really encourage you, the first step, the very first and most important step, find a good agent, someone who understands your business. Not only can they're a good agent, but they have some familiarity, hopefully, with your general industry. Because every industry, Trish, it can have little nuances or little differences. Isn't that fair?
Absolutely.
And you've got to find someone you can talk to and sit down and, again, share your business. Be willing to do that. Just like if your goal is to build a good business, a solid business, to take care of yourself, your family, whatever, you've got to have a good insurance professional to guide you through this process. There's no doubt about it. And it's my opinion that it gets more complex as insurance companies write these policies. They put exclusions. I can't imagine, Trish, waking up one day, have a loss, and all of a sudden I have no insurance, because that's why I buy it, so that when that happens, then I've got some coverage. An amazing situation. Well, Trish, I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. As always, you've got great information. You explain it in a way that even I can understand it. And if people wanted to get in touch with you with some questions or even talk to you about their insurance, what's the best way for them to do that?
Just call us directly. We're real good about, we answer our phones. You don't get a voicemail. Our phone number at the office is 281-356-9866. 9955. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. We also have a website, www.pcooperins.com. You can go online, find out some information about our staff, and you can also request a quote online.
Well, thank you again very much. Hope everybody picked up some ideas from Trish, because they really can save you a lot in the end. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our final break of the day. And before we do, I want to remind you that if you haven't heard all of today's show, these shows are in archives, and you can listen to them anytime by going to the website irlonestar.com, clicking on weekly shows and then the weekly business hour. So please, if you've missed part of the show, listen to us. We'll be right back with you with our final segment.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that texting and talking on the phone while driving are not only dangerous, but also illegal in school zones and other posted areas. Drive safely and alert.
Lone Star Internet Radio is now bringing you the weekly business hour show each Monday morning at 11 a.m. My name is Rick Schissler, and I will be your host. Each week we will be bringing you local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will also feature an interview with a local or national business person who will share their own experiences, successes, and failures in operating their businesses. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own businesses. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schissler, and I am a Silver Fox Advisor who has over 40 years' experience as a serial entrepreneur. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic, and I will take your questions by email at rschissler@silverfox.org or called into the station at 936-647-3776. See you on the radio Monday at 11 a.m. for the weekly business hour.
Doing business since 1985, Assistance League of Montgomery County is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization where all proceeds stay in Montgomery County. Through our Operation School Bell program, we have provided new clothes to over 50,000 students in our county. Visit our thrift shop at 126 North San Jacinto Street in downtown Conroe, or call us at 936-760-1151. Don't forget to like us on Facebook.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. And we're in our final segment of today's program. It's where we give the Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week. One of my favorite parts of the program to bring you a tip. But before we start with that tip of the week, I want to thank our sponsors for the show, and that is the Silver Fox Advisors. In the past, you have heard from a number of our show guests how important a mentor has been to them in the success of their businesses. And every business leader, let's be frank with ourselves, needs someone from time to time to talk to who has the experience and who is willing to give them the unvarnished truth about their business. In other words, someone who won't say yes, 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 but someone who will listen thoughtfully, consider what their point is, consider what their trouble is or what their challenge is, and then come back with them with an answer that includes options and alternatives that they can follow. You will have this kind of service if you will contact a Silver Fox Advisor. You can get further information about Silver Fox Advisors at www.silverfoxadvisors.org, or you can just contact me direct here at the station at 936-647-3776 to learn more. Now, let's get to our Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week. My question, what do you do with the cash you accumulate in your business? Now, we all start businesses for a variety of reasons. We've talked about that on the show from time to time. And at some point, your business will reach what I call a point of success, and I think there are a number of point of successes in the business life. But one of them is when you start to accumulate cash. You have cash flow. And there's cash that starts to accumulate in your bank account. And then the question arises, what do I do with it? I have enough revenue coming in. I'm able to cover my expenses. I'm making a profit. And I'm also showing a positive cash flow, which can be two different things. So I have cash that's accumulating. And the question is, what do I do? Well, in our segment earlier today with Skip, he talked about the young paramedics or fire or policemen who second, third year starts to make a little money and runs out and buys that big 4x4 truck, and then all of a sudden his financial picture, his personal financial picture, is in deep trouble. His family's in stress, and he turns hopefully to a chaplain for some advice. Same thing can happen in a business. Maybe we accumulate a little money and we run out and buy a new vehicle, but there are a lot of other things that businesses tend to do with money when they accumulate it and when they start flowing positive cash. Is they start to say, well, how can I spend it? What can I do with it? And in some cases, it's been my experience, businesses start to think about this way too much, because if you go back to your strategic plan, your business plan, where are you on your plan? That's the first thing I do when I think about spending that cash. Am I on my plan? Am I doing what I said I would do at that point? In other words, am I firing in all cylinders is my expression for it, so that the things I'm doing are paying off. So I had a good plan. I've worked hard, probably for 2 or 3 years, if not longer, to be in that position, and the money's starting to build up. Well, I would suggest you very strongly, just like you've worked several years at least to get to that point, be judicious in what you do with that cash. And the first thing you need to do, check your plan. See if your plan calls for you to have some cash reserves, some things to spend the cash on. For an example, equipment, improvements, enlargement of your space that you're currently occupying, perhaps bringing on an employee or two that you really can't afford in your daily activity, but people that are really good people. You find them and you want to bring them in, but they're not going to start having a positive impact for 3-6 months or longer. Perhaps a salesman. Always takes time to get a good salesman working and flowing positive cash for you. That's what some of the things that you can do with the cash that builds up. The one thing, though, that I've found, and I really want to speak to today, that I find people doing is when they built up cash, is they immediately look to diversify. I think there's a real challenge in the economy today, the local and world economy, where we see businesses expanding, getting into different areas. We feel compelled to move real fast on anything we do, even though it took us a long time to get to a point, and we've been very careful. We've personally sacrificed, our families have sacrificed, but we feel motivated to just move real fast. And a lot of businesses make what I consider to be a serious mistake, is they diversify. They want to go out and acquire another business, start another location, do these kind of things. And I'm not saying those are bad things in and of themselves, but you really, really have to consider what you're doing. Because when you take on an additional business line, could be a product line, service line, or you open that second location, and I'm working with someone right now that just opened a location in another city. Interesting stories. It was a good move for them. They're well established, multiple locations, they know how to run them, but to go into a new territory, what it basically is, and I read this, one writer called them time terrorists. It's when you go and take on the project, you might have the cash that you built up, but they really, really eat up your time, your management time. And the old expression, are you going to take your eye off the ball? Be very careful when you do that. And I think it's more important to take, at least initially, as that money in the beginning. We're talking about the beginning of the process where your business is flowing cash positively and it's building up money, that you need to take that first step with that money. And what do? My encouragement is invest it in the business, invest it in yourself. Stay very focused. And I think that's the key point, the second point. Stay focused. You referred to your plan. You're on your plan. Now let's keep our focus up on what we're doing. Now, some people may say, well, my plan calls for me to diversify. That's great. If you've got a plan and in the 3rd year, 5th year, 7th year, assuming you met your objectives and you have the cash and you're in the type of business that you need to diversify, that you need to expand into another location or add additional product lines, I'm not saying you don't do that. But this is a real important turning point, if you will, in any business, is when you go outside what made you get where you are today, the business, the products, the location, and now you're going to change that mix somehow. It's a critically important decision. Go into it carefully, consider it carefully, review your plans carefully, and then adjust your plan if you need to be, and take those careful steps. Very important. Silver Fox tip of the week, the advisor tip of the week is what to do with the cash you accumulate. I'm asking and encourage you to use it judiciously and be very careful. Don't diversify prematurely. Well, as we wind up the show today, I want to remind all our listeners, be sure you visit the website at irlonestar.com. That way you can stay up on everything that's happening in Montgomery County and our community at large. And as I close today, I want to offer a big Lone Star thanks to Skip Straus and Trish Cooper for sharing their experiences and expertise with us. Stay engaged this week and keep your focus on what counts in your business. Next week, our very special studio guest will be Antonio Flores of Pound for Pound. Thank you for joining us, and until next week, remember to keep following your community right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.